Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Workplace Wisdom. Sharing insight, perspective, and best practices for creating the planet's best workplaces. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to another exciting and informative edition of Workplace Wisdom. Stone Payton here with you this afternoon, and you folks are in for a real treat. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast with Skills Owl LLC, Mr. Andy Temte. You know what, Andy? I didn't ask you before we went on air. Did I pronounce your name right?
You did a good job. Everybody tries to analyze it. It's Temte. It's of Norwegian background, and it's just it's as you would imagine it. It looks, it sounds.
All right. Well, we'll score that one as a win. All right. Yeah. So Skills Owl, man, mission, purpose. What are you out there trying to do for folks?
Yeah, well, I was chief executive of a large education company, global education company, for 22 years. We helped individuals achieve their life's goals through education for licensures, designations, and certifications like the CPA exam or the CFA or Series 763, et cetera. And I also served as college president, and I had one leg in higher education, another leg in professional education, and we would help individuals achieve those Yahoo moments in their lives. So after 22 years with Kaplan and another kind of 8 or 10 before that, building a business. Wanted to get back out on quote unquote on my own, as it were. My business partner is our son Nicholas. So I have the distinct both opportunity and pleasure of working with our son, and we're gonna take all the leadership and business ideas that I've developed over the last 30 years, and we're packaging them up, and we want to build that next generation of leaders, and I want them to learn from all the missteps and all the mistakes that I've made, so that we can build a better future leader.
Well, congratulations on taking that step, man. I gotta believe that for some of us that would be a bit of a challenge, because you obviously have a very established career, probably a pretty comfortable situation, but you had the salt to get out there and go on this new venture. So congratulations, man. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So as I understand it, among some of the focus areas for you guys and your practice is this, I guess one umbrella for some of it might be continuous improvement. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. As a leader over the last, especially my time at Kaplan, I have migrated from what you would politely call an Andy said leader, meaning very directive, my way or the highway kind of, hey, everybody follow me, this is where we're going, kind of a leader. To one that I've taken the principles of organizational health and blended them with the principles of continuous improvement, or what many think of as lean. The Toyota management principles from the 1980s. So I consider myself a continuous improvement and organizational health leader. And it's really not any more complicated than continuous improvement is the identification and elimination of waste. It is the second pillar is respect for your people. And the third pillar is to have a maniacal focus on your customer. And that second pillar of respect for people, both externally and internally, that's what we've kind of blown up and attached to organizational health. which is all about creating a foundation of trust and accountability within your organization, communication, clarity, etc. So, I've gone from a very technical leader, a very my way or the highway leader, to one who is very focused on the human element. Your people are your most valuable asset in your business. Everybody is different. Everybody's got a different change curve that they react to as your business changes and grows. So again, it's about that efficiency, trust, accountability, all kind of blended together in this in the special packaging.
I got to tell you, man, as a layperson on all of these topics, but admittedly, it occurs to me, or it would seem to me, that it would be far easier, far faster to teach, transfer, identifying and minimizing waste stuff than it would be to teach and inculcate this idea of respecting your people and the trust, and that seems like maybe that's why we need the Andy Temtes and the Nicholases of the world to help us, because that is that's a hard row to hoe. Yeah. Yeah.
They've been called soft skills for far too long.
Yes.
Because you have hard skills, hard technical skills, and then you have the harder, what I like to call human or people skills or behavioral skills. They are much harder. Everybody, especially as we age, we become more and more hardwired. We're less mentally agile and flexible. We get set in our ways, and we learn to put people into certain buckets and categorize them. And human beings are much more complicated than being lumped into some sort of generational bucket and making all sorts of assumptions about how they might behave. I'm all about having people bringing their whole selves into the world of work, and as business leaders, we've just got to stop showing up in what I like to phrase as these emotional suits of armor, where we kind of clunk around the office and we're trying to be somebody who we're not. When it's a heck of a lot easier to just be who you are and get the most out of your people by being yourself.
I gotta believe this must be. And I don't mean to suggest that your work doesn't have its own set of challenges. I'm sure it does, but it must be incredibly rewarding work, man.
Yeah. I spent years and years, chasing after budgets and the operating income and the top line of the business. And, Skills Owl is going to be all about, making a profit and having a long-term sustainable business. I'm all about cash flow. I'm a finance guy at heart. I got a PhD, earned a PhD in finance from the University of Iowa back in the mid 1990s. So I know all about the functioning of the business. But to be able to take a lot of these life's lessons that I've learned and create a business model where I'm both giving back and through teaching, coaching, mentoring, and hopefully a little bit of inspiration, as the tagline of my book points out, it is extraordinarily rewarding to sit down and write for 3 hours and have what I think is a wonderful idea and get that out in the wild and see what people think.
Well, and I bet it's also, it must be marvelous to work with your son. So do you guys, have you sort of found your grooves in terms of roles? Like you sort of stay in this lane and Nicholas stays in that lane, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, so we're both musicians. I grew up in a musical family. He obviously grew up in a musical family. And so I've played in bands since I was a teenager. He had a garage band in our garage when he was younger. So we're actually writing music together. We've published our first song
cool.
late last year, and so that's available out on Spotify and YouTube and all the major music services. He's actually coming into town in a few hours, and we're going to put the finishing touches on song number 2. So he's helping me there, and then on the Skills Owl side of things, he's got skills that I don't, and I have obviously skills that he doesn't. So it is extraordinarily rewarding to teach your son the lessons of business in a way that an MBA program can't. And just have that. Our other son is a doctor, and he's a wonderful man. He's off into the world, and I can't thank our younger son Nick enough for taking this leap of faith with me, and I hope he's getting as much out of it as I am.
Well, I'm sure that he is, and I'm sure that whether he's doing it consciously or not, I bet Dad's learning some lessons from him on all of these topics and all these domains.
Yeah, the intergenerational aspect is really cool because. And the trust that we have, obviously, kind of growing up together, is I can take a question that's bothering me about, hey, will this audience resonate with this topic? And I can pose the question to him, and he'll come back and say, look, Dad, I think you got to repackage X like this to get the best result with the kind of 25 to 35 year old crowd. That clearly you, Dad, as a 58-year-old don't connect directly to. So he brings that aspect to the table, and it's just so refreshing to have somebody that I can, in a very psychologically safe environment, bounce those ideas off of. Because when you've got employees that that are working, quote unquote, for you, I like to think that you're working with the people in your business instead of people working for you. But you don't tend to get things unvarnished and straight. And that's what I like about working with our son is we've got the relationship, the trust, and he's going to give it to me straight.
All right, so it's one thing to operate under a logo like Kaplan. It's another to get out there in the marketplace. Sometimes it can be a little chilly. How's the whole sales and marketing thing going? Are you still getting that ironed out, or?
We're constantly testing those waters, and some people would say we're trying to do too much because we're testing the waters in the music community to get this original music out there, which is a challenge in and of itself. But a lot of those lessons from the music industry translate directly into business as well. So we're taking our learnings from a sales and marketing perspective in both directions. But yeah, we're finding our sea legs. It is not a direct correlation to, I was a big mid-market CEO and that knew all these people, and so therefore I'm going to be a success in a small business. It doesn't work that way, and the grind is there, and so fortunately we're doing something that we love, so we're not technically working, but we are, and we're iterating, we're testing, we're trying to tap into new markets, and I love it because the part of being a continuous improvement individual is that you've made a commitment to yourself that you're always going to be learning, you're always going to be growing, you're always going to be pushing that envelope. So I'm not super comfortable right now. I'm testing myself in ways that I haven't in a long time since I was an entrepreneur back in the 1990s.
So let's talk a little bit about the work at I guess, kind of a tactical level. I'm trying to get a bit of a view of early in the engagement, because I can't even imagine, where do you start when you're trying to achieve this balance between behavioral and technical skill. Can you just walk us through what the early stages of an engagement might look like with you guys?
Well, we are right now. So I've got this book called Balancing Act, which is a lot of the what and the why around this balance between technical skill and behavioral skill, and frankly, many of the balancing acts that we play in both our personal lives and our business lives. And I draw direct connections between the two through the stories that I write. But the next step in that journey is to create the workbook, the companion that's going to go along with it, because the book is not the how. And so the workbook is going to be the how. How do I bring these concepts to life within my business? And and that's what we're working on right now. But I will, spoiler alert, it all starts with purpose. That is the entry, the gateway into any business planning. Why am I here? Why do we exist? And really getting that purpose right. So we start with purpose. We get into what I call the it of your business, and then I've got a very special word that I really glommed onto a few years ago, and that's the concept of indispensability. It's a long word. But,
don't try to spell it.
Yeah, but how do I make myself indispensable to my customers? How do I make it so difficult for them to go to somebody else because we're providing such an awesome product or service or message that you're not going to think about anybody else. So we right into indispensability. We talk a lot about culture. Again, that if you think about a plot of trust against accountability, so trust on the vertical axis and accountability on the horizontal, we want to help business leaders move their cultures into that high trust, high accountability box in that four box. And then the workbook's going to finish with what I like to call a management operating system, which is this unique blend of continuous improvement and organizational health, and some very specific tools that leaders can use within their businesses to move their cultures into that high trust, high accountability box.
I would think that as a client, certainly more IQ points would be great. I could use a few, but I'm pretty convinced EQ, emotional intelligence, is probably as important, if not more so, and really being able to project yourself into the mind of another person or a group and genuinely understand how and why they think and feel the way they do. Being able, I would think that would be important foundation for a lot of this work. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not bragging here, but I have been the smartest guy in the room many times in my career, but simultaneously not the smartest guy in the room, because my IQ was leading my EQ. So I was missing all sorts of signals around the room. I was missing communication opportunities. I was missing clarity, creation opportunities. And so this concept of the EQ, or your emotional intelligence, is just at the forefront. So again, it's a balancing act, but balancing that concept of IQ with that of EQ. And look, the future world of work is one where we're going to have computers that can think at low cognitive levels, but ever increasing cognitive levels. Computers are going to be taking more and more of the technical aspects of our jobs. So what do we have to bring to the world of work but our human selves? So it is incumbent on all of us to work on our EQs as much as the technical skills that we are curating for viability in the workplace.
No, that's a great way to put it. That's a muscle, if you will, that we just need to pay attention to and exercise regularly, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, and all the polarization, we're not going to get political at all here, but we have to recognize that we live in a highly polarized world.
Oh, yeah.
Getting caught in these echo chambers of polarization is not healthy for your EQ. So if you want, if a listener is out there and you want to work on your EQ, get your news from multiple sources. Yeah. Get out of those echo chambers. Listen to other perspectives and other opinions, because that is the way forward to curating a much stronger EQ, that your opinion, your way of thinking is not the only one. That's what EQ is all about. So polarization works directly against building a strong EQ.
So I was approaching this conversation, at least initially, as I own 40% of a media firm, and I have a smaller entity that does some other stuff. I was approaching it from the business owner, the leader, the manager. But now, based on what you're saying, I'm thinking that there probably are some things, and there's that people who go to work for these organizations can and should be doing to and maybe all the way back to how they prepare to be effective in the workforce. And I think maybe that's changing some, don't you? It's not all about necessarily just go get you a 4-year degree and start shopping it, is it?
Right. Yeah. And when we could literally talk for another hour about what World Economic Forum has categorized as the reskilling revolution. And if I can leave your listeners with one thing that they remember from this conversation, is that learning never stops. And that becoming a true lifelong learner, not just opening up the Wall Street Journal and perusing the New York Times, but really engaging in challenging yourself and adopting and acquiring new skills to maintain and grow your viability in the world of work, that is I would argue, the obligation of the future workforce participant, because you are going to be left in the dust as a contributor to this society if you don't adopt that open mind, that agile mind, that growth mindset, that lifelong learning mindset. So learning is not done after high school. It's not done after college. And frankly, the 4-year degree is it's cool and all, but there are things that I call skill portfolios that are going to be alternative pathways into the world of work that are going to be equally as viable as a degree, because degrees are far too expensive. It's frankly a fairly elitist model, and we're leaving a lot of people behind in our economy and in our society that can be wonderful contributors to your business. So as an individual, you have an obligation to be a lifelong learner. As a business leader, you have an obligation to be a teacher, a coach, and to put learning at the forefront of your business model.
Yeah, so you make me think of, now let's talk, it's my show, so let's talk about me for a minute. No, you make me think of my youngest, Kelly. She does have a degree, but I think she's really has sort of begun to build out this skill portfolio. She has a patchwork of skill sets and experiences that make her incredibly valuable. It gives some depth and texture, what she brings to the table. Now, that's partially why she fired me before Thanksgiving and got a bigger job with more pay. She was working with me, but no, that's the way Kelly has approached this thing, right? She's built out that skill portfolio. The other thing that I'm thinking is, as we continue to build here at Business RadioX, in the past, I have fallen into the trap, I think, of sort of hiring in my own image. Mm-hmm. If a good old boy or Southern gal comes in and she's pretty smart but we almost think too much alike. Right. Yeah. And it would be good to get some very different perspective, like some of what you said you were enjoying with Nick, right? Yeah. Like you get that different perspective.
Yeah, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a very hot phrase, but that whole concept it needs to be extended into equity within your workplace, meaning incentive systems and especially that of providing learning opportunities. This whole concept of the high potential within your business is the one that gets the learning opportunities. That's not a great approach. You need to provide learning opportunities with equity. You need diversity of thought and opinion within your business, because you got to have those people who are saying, no. That's a false narrative that you're trying to try. That's not the right way to approach this. I would approach it this way. And so then you have constructive conflict within the business, and conflict handled correctly can be a very good thing for your company. So I have made the mistake, like you just admitted, that I've hired people that look too much like me. They think too much like me. And so I get in these echo chambers, and it's things are going really, really well. That's awesome. And then all of a sudden, you didn't think of this, you didn't think of that. The business model fails because you didn't have a rich enough set of humans around you to really challenge your thinking and get a better result.
Before we wrap, I want to go back to this book, Balancing Act. That's the title of it? Yeah. So was that difficult to come together for you? Did it come together pretty easy? Tell us a little bit about the experience of authoring that thing.
Yeah. Well, I started writing stories back in 2017, and I would something would happen at work, and as part of my communication and my teaching to the rest of the employment community, I would take that concept and I would write a small article about it. And I would interject a personal story, and I would post it both internally and externally. And then we'd have a conversation about it, either with the senior team or with a broader team. And as I kept building this library of stories, it dawned on me, wow, I can turn this into a book. And the book was originally going to be called Stories of a Mid-Level Senior Executive, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of us, but you're not quite the guy or gal at the top, but you're also fairly senior in the organization. So you're managing from the middle. So you're managing up, you're managing down, and you're managing on both sides. And so that was going to be the structure of the book. But the more I wrote, the more the concept of balance really started to become the theme. And it was in the spring of 2020, as the pandemic hit, that I thought, okay, I'm going to be spending a lot of time at home. Let's get this book done. we cranked through it, and it was a wonderful experience. But we took all these stories, we laid them out on the floor and said, okay, how does this all fit together? And then we filled in all the blanks. And by April of 2021, we had a finished product, and it's out the door.
What a great foundation piece resource for people who are participating in your work too, right? Your clients. It must be that must add a lot to that whole client experience, being able to go back to that material. Yeah.
Yeah. It forms that foundation.
I'll bet. All right. I want you to hang out with us after we go off air, just so you and I can chat for a moment. But before we wrap, I want to make sure that our listeners have whatever are appropriate points of contact. I want them to be able to have a chance to reach out, and if they want to have a conversation with you or Nick or anybody else on your team. And I don't want to leave without finding out where we can go hear that song too. So lay it on us, man.
Yeah, well, everything is available at andrewtemte.com. So ANDREWTEMTE. Please don't put a P in my name. One does not exist. Everybody wants to put a P in there. So andrewtemte.com is the website. You can find me on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. The band's name is called The Remainders, and we've been together for almost 18 years. Primarily classic rock, a little modern rock, and now we're doing originals. We focus on philanthropy and giving back to the community. So fun philanthropic midlife crisis is the band, but that's where you can find us.
Well, Andy, it has been an absolute delight having you on the show this afternoon. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and visiting, man.
Thank you.
All right. This is Stone Payton for our guest today, Andy Temte, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Workplace Wisdom.